Let's go, Falcons! Something big is happening in Atlanta, and this training camp could be the turning point that will shape the team's entire future. Questions are simmering, battles are heating up, and every play, every rep, could decide who emerges as a star and who gets left behind. It's not just about filling roster spots, it's about proving who's ready to lead, who's ready to explode, and who's ready to change the game forever. And believe me, the answers we get in the coming weeks could define the season before it even starts. But before we get into the open questions, hit the like button and let us know in the comments, which position do we need the most change at? I want to hear your opinion. The calm before the storm is officially over, Falcons fans, and the real questions that could define this team's future are about to be answered. The offseason chatter is done, the speculation is done, and now, it's time to watch this roster take shape as training camp kicks off. But let's be honest, this isn't just another camp. This feels different, because this time, the questions aren't just about who makes the roster, they're about the very foundation of the Atlanta Falcons' future. And at the center of it all, Michael Penix Jr. This is the moment we've been waiting for. All eyes are on the young quarterback who stepped in late last season and showed flashes that made everyone sit up a little straighter. But here's the tension. Kirk Cousins is still here, still on the roster, still earning starter money. You can almost feel the weight of that dynamic hanging over every snap in camp. The big question, and you know you're asking it, too, can Penix really be the franchise guy? Can he do it in his first full season as QB1? Because history tells us you find out quickly with franchise quarterbacks. And whether Cousins stays, plays, or even finishes this season, Penix has to prove he's the guy. His 3 starts last year gave us plenty to chew on this offseason, but now, every throw in camp feels like it matters. Every connection with his receivers feels like a glimpse into the future. And speaking of future stars, let's talk about Robinson, because if you think his rookie season was good, you haven't seen anything yet, at least that's the plan. He's already putting in the work to transform from great to elite. Forget the 30-yard runs that had us cheering last year. Bijan's chasing 60-yarders now, literally training for explosive plays every single day. Offensive coordinator Zach Robinson wants more home run runs, and Bijan's bought in completely. He's not just preparing to move the chains, he's preparing to rip the heart out of defenses with back-breaking runs. Tyler Algier remains the perfect complement, but make no mistake, this backfield is Bijan's, and he's talking like a guy ready to own that spotlight. Now, Falcons fans, we have to talk about the receivers, because this group is quietly becoming one of the most intriguing parts of this roster. Drake London? Let's get something straight, he's already WR1. That's not a debate. But the chemistry he builds with Penix is everything, because if that connection grows the way it started to in those final games last season, London's not just going to be a WR1 for the Falcons, he's going to be one of the league's best. And with Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, Kaderl Hodge, Jamal Agnew, Casey Washington, Chris Blair, and Nick Nash fighting for spots, the depth at receiver is stronger than it's been in years. But here's the thing about Agnew, don't sleep on his return skills. With Avery Williams gone, Agnew could become a game-changer on special teams before he even catches a pass. And if you're wondering about big names with something to prove, Kyle Pitts is staring down maybe the biggest year of his career. Year 5. Contract year. No more excuses. This is the season he has to show everyone he's still the same guy who earned that number 4 overall pick back in 2021. With a more stable offensive system and Penix under center, Pitts has a real shot to reclaim his Pro Bowl form. And whether his next big contract is here in Atlanta or somewhere else, he knows he has to deliver. The Falcons need him to be one of the best tight ends in the league, now, not later. The offensive line, though, has its own storyline brewing. Ryan Neusel is stepping into the starting center role, replacing Drew Dalman, and while there's confidence in his ability to handle it, he already has reps with Penix. Depth remains a big question. Michael Gonzalez, Matthew Cindric, and Javon Gwynn are fighting to be the reliable backup, and trust me, competition here matters. Injuries happen, and the Falcons need more than just one dependable center if they're going to protect a young QB trying to make his mark. But the defense, the defense, might just be where the real drama is. For years, this team has been begging for a pass rush. And now, the Falcons spent big-time draft capital to fix it. Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. aren't just rookies, they're expectations in human form. You don't trade up and use a number 11 pick unless you're expecting instant results, and that's exactly what the Falcons need. After living in the bottom quartile for pass rush production the past 5 years, this team can't afford to be patient. Walker and Pierce need to deliver now, because everything about this defense changes if the pass rush can finally generate consistent pressure. The defensive line, though, is a little more complicated. Grady Jarrett is gone, and yes, that's huge. Morgan Fox is going to be asked to do more than people realize, but the real names to watch are Rook Orhorhoro, Zach Harrison, and Brandon Dorlus. Orhorhoro and Dorlus are expected to take a massive step forward from their rookie seasons, and Harrison might be the under-the-radar piece that makes this group work. Forget the word revamped. This isn't about throwing a bunch of new names at the problem. It's about young guys developing into real playmakers. And if you think that's all the drama, think again, because the linebackers and secondary have their own battles that could shape the entire defensive identity. Divine Deablo is here and should slot into a starting role, but Troy Anderson's role, Caden Ellis' usage, and how Jeff Ulbrich tweaks his scheme are all questions that need answering. The nickel corner spot, though, might be the truest camp battle on this entire roster. D. Alford, Clark Phillips III, and Billy Bowman Jr. are in a three-man race that could go right down to the wire. What do you think so far, Falcons fans? Which of these storylines are you watching the closest? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this training camp is shaping up to be one of the most important we've had in years, and I want to hear what you're most excited to see. Should we be worried about Penix? Or are you already all in on the new franchise QB? Write in the comments. And now, let's dive right back into where things get even more fascinating, because the secondary and special teams could be the hidden keys to how far this Falcons team can go in 2025. Starting with cornerback, and no, I'm not worried about A.J. Terrell. You shouldn't be either. Forget to talk about him having a down year. By his own high standards, maybe he wasn't perfect, but he's still the rock of this secondary. The real story is at nickel, and I can't emphasize this enough, this is a legitimate three-way battle. D. Alford, Clark Phillips III, and rookie Billy Bowman Jr. are locked in a fight that might be decided entirely by what happens over the next few weeks. Whoever wins that job won't just fill a spot, they'll help define how aggressive this defense can be. And don't be surprised if Ulbrich decides to shake things up schematically depending on who earns it. Now, let's talk safeties because this room is stacked, and that's not something we've been able to say every year. Jesse Bates III is the leader, no doubt, but the question is, who lines up next to him? Xavier Watts might have the inside track, and honestly, it feels like his spot to lose. But Jordan Fuller brings veteran experience, and don't forget DeMarco Helms, who's back healthy after missing last season. Helms is a wild card. His role could change everything depending on how well he performs in camp. This battle is going to be physical, it's going to be competitive, and it's going to matter for a defense trying to find its identity. And then there's special teams, a unit going through quiet but significant changes. Jamal Agnew might be the most important addition here, not as a receiver, but as a return specialist now that Avery Williams is gone. His ability to flip the field could be the difference in close games. But let's not ignore the kicking game either. Young Hoku may be the steady veteran, but the competition with Lenny Krieg is worth watching. Consistency in the kicking game has been a Falcons' strength, and it needs to stay that way, especially in a season where every point could matter. So, Falcons fans, this is where I hand it over to you again. Who do you think wins that nickel battle? Do you trust Watts to grab that starting safety spot, or are you leaning toward Fuller's experience? And how big of an impact do you think Agnew can have in the return game? Let me know in the comments, and if you want me to keep bringing you deep dives like this all camp long, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Go Falcons!